Hello, my name is Carrie Harlow, and I work with VSAC's Career and Education Outreach Program. Today we're going to talk about scholarships, which is free money. So let's talk about some of the things that we'll cover during this presentation. We're going to talk about the 3 keys to success in a scholarship search and application. We're going to talk about the 4 steps of the search, and we're also going to talk about those things to consider as you're going through a scholarship search and application process. But first, let's talk about what scholarships are. Scholarships are free money to help students pay for post-secondary education. That can be programs such as those offered at a college or university, or those offered at a trade school that's eligible for aid. The different types of scholarships that are available could be merit-based, which are based on a student's ability or something that they do that's special that the college is trying to attract. Or it could be based on a student's financial need, which is the family and student's ability to pay. Some scholarships are based on both things. In addition, there are scholarships that are contests, and students enter a contest and they get drawn. Their name might get drawn in that contest, and then money is paid as a result of winning that scholarship. Some examples of this are the Niche No Essay Scholarship, the College Board Scholarship, where students complete tasks and sign up, and as a result, they can be drawn for a different type of scholarship that they'll do during their junior and senior year of high school. In addition, locally, there's the Burlington Cars program, where students can also earn scholarships based on their grades. The role that scholarships can play in helping pay for college is, for some families, when they receive a financial aid award, the college has not met the student's full financial need. And for those colleges, scholarships can fill in the gaps where students have not had their financial need met, and those scholarships can make certain to help the family pay. In other cases, scholarships might help a student reduce their loan debt or the work that they have to do in order to earn financial aid. At some colleges, they will reduce their need-based dollars dollar for dollar, but those are very rare colleges, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation. Let's also talk about some of the common myths. My grades aren't good enough. There are some scholarships that aren't based on a student's grades. My parents make too much money. There are some scholarships that are not financial need-based. I'm not athletic. Actually, athletic scholarships are pretty rare, and so students oftentimes do not get athletic scholarships, so not being athletic wouldn't impact you. And also, having not chosen a major yet will not impact a student applying for scholarships, because there are some scholarships that aren't based on what a student is studying. So those are all things that should not stop you as you pursue scholarships. Let's talk about the 3 keys to success in this process. The first key is communication. Colleges and universities will be communicating with students throughout the admissions process. They will tell students and counselors what students are missing. They'll prompt them to submit necessary information. In the scholarship process, this communication is rather one-sided, because scholarship agencies will not be contacting students and saying, "We're missing some information still for this scholarship." Students can contact scholarship agencies and they can ask whether or not all the information's been received, but they will not hear from the scholarship agency saying, "We're missing something." In addition, there are eligibility requirements, and those are one of the hurdles that students need to jump through in order to earn scholarships. Those eligibility requirements could be things like a GPA or community service or having worked with children or something like that. You have to look carefully at those eligibility requirements and then decide, is this something that applies to me? Many scholarships have a competition component to them. In other words, many of the students who are applying for those scholarships already meet the eligibility requirements. So you have to show that you shine in this process. How do you do that? Well, you might be writing a great essay or getting a wonderful recommendation, or you might be showing a portfolio of your best work. In this case, it's important to keep in mind that the students who are also applying for that scholarship will be meeting the eligibility requirements, and you are competing against them. Let's talk about the types of scholarships. When you think about scholarships, you could almost think about a bullseye. And in that bullseye, the national scholarships might be the far rings of the bullseye. What that means is when you're applying for national scholarships, you are competing sometimes against tens of thousands of other students, all for that same scholarship. The competition will be intense. But as you get closer in, maybe applying for scholarships that are only available for Vermonters, then you're competing against fewer students. And finally, when you apply for scholarships locally, you're competing against students from your own community or even your own high school. And in that case, the number of students you're competing against is much smaller, and your competition is going to be much easier than if you're competing nationally against tens of thousands of students. In this case, students' best efforts are probably made in looking for and applying for those local scholarships. Let's talk about the typical timeline for a scholarship search. During the junior year, students can be doing their research and looking at some of those national scholarships that may have earlier deadlines. There are some national scholarships that have competition, but at the same time, they will be awarding a certain number of scholarships to students from your state or region. Those will be good ones to pull out and think about applying for. But the junior year is a time when you can look at some of that information. Additionally, grab the VSAC scholarships book from your school counseling office. You'll find scholarships that we offer in the previous year, and you can use that to think about which ones you'll be applying for when you're a senior. During the senior year, there's a lot of work that's involved in applying for scholarships. You'll probably be checking in monthly with your school counseling office as far as where are those new applications and have any come in. You'll also be looking at the deadlines that you had researched before and making certain to meet those deadlines. In addition, just to give you an idea about VSAC timelines, we administer a number of scholarships at VSAC. It equated to about $5.9 million worth of scholarships in the past year. So check out our timelines as well. Usually you can expect that our VSAC scholarships book will be available online in school counseling offices in the beginning of October. Our application, we're planning on that opening in the beginning of October, and our deadline usually happens the middle of February of the student's senior year of high school. Additionally, one of the biggest sources of scholarships for students will be through your college or university. And you want to apply for financial aid and scholarships every year in order to be eligible. During your senior year, when you're applying to colleges and you get your acceptance letters, some colleges will be offering a scholarship within your offer of admission. And it's important to ask colleges and universities if this is a one-time scholarship or if it's one that continues. And then, what are the terms of that scholarship? How do I keep it? Do you need to maintain a certain GPA? Do you need to apply each year for it? Additionally, it's important to check in with each college or university that you've applied to and received scholarships from to find out if there's additional tasks that you need to complete in order to keep that scholarship. It may be things such as a certain GPA requirement. It may be something you have to apply for each year, but you'll want to check that out at each college or university where you receive a scholarship. So when we talk about this, we want to start off thinking globally. You can do some national scholarship searches which are free. We've got some of those listed on this slide here. FastWeb and College Board both have scholarship searches available on their websites. Additionally, raise.me is an interesting website where colleges will put in information and students can also put in information about themselves and match up with scholarships that colleges have at their individual institutions that students can get just for doing the things they're normally doing, like having a certain GPA or taking the SAT or going on a college visit. MilitaryScholar.org is another website for families that have a military connection and students that are dependents, spouses, or children can find scholarships available on that search as well. Then we come to the local sources, and again, you want to spend your time finding out about those local scholarships where your competition will be less keen. You can look at places like your high school. Sometimes there are posters in town offices. Employers sometimes have scholarships, so students and their parents may want to check with their employers for those. Additionally, community groups such as the Lions or the Rotarians may have scholarships available. And many high schools will have a local scholarship process that happens in the spring of the student's senior year. It's important to check out those local sources. You can also do word of mouth. Sometimes parents of students who have been through this before will have some advice for you or know about scholarships that students can apply for. Additionally, we don't want to forget the VSAC scholarships book. In the VSAC scholarships book, we list a number of scholarships that we administer. When you look at the scholarship book, the black edged pages will list each of the scholarships that we have and we administer at VSAC. For those scholarships, we use one application, the Unified Scholarship Application, and we require information. But if you're required to send a transcript and you're applying for 4 scholarships, you only have to send 1 transcript. We'll make those copies for you. You want to read and follow the instructions in that scholarship booklet. And also in the scholarship booklet, there are some gray edged pages that are scholarships that we are simply publicizing for different agencies. Those have different deadlines and they have different requirements, so students do want to check those out and be aware if they're going to be applying for those. We'll have those available online and in print, as I mentioned before, in October 2020. Unfortunately, this process, like many others, involves people who are looking to make a quick dollar off people's efforts. And we need to talk about those scams. Basically, the advice is, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So if you hear things such as, "May I have your credit card or bank account number to hold this scholarship for you?" Or "You're a finalist in a scholarship contest that you never entered," or "We'll do all the work," or "This is guaranteed," you know that it is highly likely that this is not on the up and up. And you want to be very careful in those cases. Most of the information that you can find, no, I'll correct that. All of the information that you can find about scholarships is available for free and with some work on your part. So it's really important to keep in mind that when someone guarantees you something or promises you something, they may not be able to deliver that. If in doubt, ask questions. There are basically 4 simple steps to this process. 1, you want to identify those scholarships that you're eligible for. And then step 2 is you read and follow the instructions. This is very important. Scholarships are competitive. If you miss something and they require something as part of this process, that could get you eliminated from that competition. So definitely follow those instructions. I saw a scholarship not too long ago that said, "We require up to 2 recommendations for this scholarship. If you send 3, we will assume you can't read directions and you will be eliminated from the competition." So they came right out and said it. Follow those instructions. 3rd, you want to submit on or before the deadline. Rather than meeting deadlines, I recommend beating those deadlines, because what's important is that that deadline holds true. And if it's a submit deadline or a postmark deadline, it's really important to keep that in mind. Beating the deadline, though, gives you a chance to follow up and do step 4, which is confirm receipt of documents. If you wait until the last minute and then you confirm after the deadline, you will not be able to get any other information in. So if something was missing, you can't follow up. Additionally, for VSAC scholarships, you need to file our Unified Scholarship Application in order to give time for your school to upload a transcript or for your recommendations to get in. So it's very important not to wait until the last minute to do this and to be able to confirm that all the information is there. Remember, as when we talked about the communication process, scholarship agencies will not get in touch with you to say we're missing something. You have to track that down. Next steps are the best parts, selection and notification. So once you've sent everything in for a scholarship, then a selection process takes place, and the competition weeds itself out. In the VSAC scholarships book, one of the things that we do is we list our criteria for scholarships in order of importance. And so you can see that maybe most important is the GPA, and next is the community service, and next is the recommendations, and next is the essay. In that case, you know that where you want to put your focus, and you may find that with different scholarships that you apply for. In addition, notifying scholarships. Many times scholarship agencies only notify the winners. And so you'll want to know when and how I'll be notified. At VSAC, students can access their My VSAC account and look at their scholarship file, and they can see whether or not they were awarded scholarships. We will send out letters to students notifying them if they've won, but in order to find out if you weren't chosen, you will see that on the VSAC scholarship page. And finally, remember, this process for applying and getting chosen for scholarships is competition-based. You have to show that you're the best applicant. When students ask me if neatness in spelling counts, well, of course it does. And so you want to make sure that you have someone read your essays or things that you're submitting. With scholarship searches, you can start globally, but make sure to keep your focus local so you can find those scholarships you're most able to receive. And finally, be aware of scholarship scams and also be aware of the effect of scholarships on other financial aid at the colleges that you've been admitted to. What you'll want to do is follow up with each of those colleges and ask, if I'm bringing in scholarships from an outside source, how does this impact my financial aid at your college? In that case, college financial aid offices will be able to tell you how they'll do that. They'll be able to say if that outside scholarship will come in and fill in the gap that you and your family need to come up with, or whether they will be reducing loan programs, which anytime you can substitute free money for money you have to borrow, that's a great thing, or whether they'll reduce your work program by scholarships you bring in. There's a small number of colleges that meet a student's full financial need, probably less than 60 in the US. Those colleges will be reducing their need-based free money dollar for dollar. And so it's important as you're applying for scholarships that you keep in mind that at some colleges, it will help reduce what you and your family have to come up with. But at other colleges, it may not be making a difference. It may be a wash, and you still have to come up with the same amount of money. Finally, let's talk about resources that we have available at VSAC. On the VSAC website, we have an entire scholarships page, and then we also have our College and Career Pathways workshop resources, where you'll find handouts and other information, links to some popular searches that are free, and you can find that all on our website. Finally, there is a handout about this presentation that's available on the College and Career Pathways 2020 resource page. Just go under the Workshop Resources tab, and you'll find a summary of the things that we've talked about today. I want to thank you for your time. I understand we'll be doing some follow-up with questions later on, but I hope that this helps you get started and launch and be successful in your scholarship search and application process.